Good day and welcome back to Elementary 72 Gaming. I'm back again with another weapon build, and this time, just for the convenience of it, I'm actually going to hit the Hatchet. Now, the Hatchet has two modes. It has Berserker mode and it has throwing mode. Now, I prefer the throwing mode on the Hatchet for a particular reason. I'll explain it in a few seconds, and you'll understand why I use it as a tank. So let's get into it and let's see exactly what there is to go through. So the first ability that you're going to get is Rending Throw. Throw a hatchet up to 25 meters dealing 110% weapon damage and apply rend, reducing target's damage absorption by 10% for 10 seconds. Target impact, rend effective increase to 15% if the target is further than 8 meters away. Opportunist, if rending throw hits a target with an active debuff, it deals an additional 20% damage. If rending throw hits a target with an active debuff, its cooldown is reduced by 20%. As you can see, it's a very quick cooldown. If that is really reduced on the cooldown and you get that there elevating at a fast rate, it will make a big difference. Now, as you can see, it does go down another 2 trees, but this is one of the most important perks for you to put on. Aim Throw replaces block with an aim throw that deals 96% weapon damage. Hold block to enter aim stance and press light attack to throw. Now, the reason why I'm going to just go into this quickly is it is a good weapon for you to use if you are going to be alternating your pattern of attack. If you are going into the ranged situation where you're going to be a healer or a mage, this is something fantastic for you. If you're going in the mid-range DPS situation, this is a fantastic weapon for you as well. But for a tank, this doesn't really hold up very well. Although it is taking away their damage rending, you do get a better effect of a spear. You even get a better effect of a rapier, which still isn't good enough for a tanking shield in the front line because it isn't that fast. Now, overall, the reason why this is so important is by having this throw, you can take up a distance where you're actually using up your block stamina, since you aren't going to block, and as I said, it's not a good thing for a tank. You throw this at the enemy from a distance, you impact them with damage without having to have to get very close. Your tank can sit right in front of them, and because your tank is basically going to hold them down, you can have headshots or critical hits all the time. It also means you're going to get to land more of these attacks on them much faster. Social distancing. Now, I don't know if this is a teaser to what's happening in reality, but let's just see. Throw a hatchet up to 25 meters forwards and dodge backwards. The hatchet deals 130% weapon damage and slows target by 15% for 3 seconds. Slow reduces target's movement speed. Quick power. If social distance hits a target with an active debuff, your movement speed is increased by 30% for 3 seconds. Stay back. Social distancing slow effectiveness is increased by 25% and its duration is increased by 4 seconds. Okay, so here is the thing with this particular side here. This is a good way for you to apply a quick getaway from heavy damage dealers. If you are in the middle point of a team, basically between the tank and the mage and the healer, using this is a good idea. Enemies breaking away from the tank, you slow them down so they don't get too far away. You apply this damage and you get out of their way. There's a possibility they're going to follow you through. You run back behind the tank can pull aggro off you after a few seconds, and you run back to the front where you need to be and you go back to throwing. The whole idea with this, it does give you a reprieve to get back some of your stamina. That is the whole idea behind this middle tree over here. Alright, let's go to the next one, Infected Throw. Throwing a hatchet deals 150% weapon damage. This inflicts disease and weaken on your target for 10 seconds. Disease reduces target's healing efficiency by 30%. Weaken reduces target's damage by 10%. Now, this is good in high level zones because enemies love to heal. If you do this here, a 30% reduction in efficiency when they're taking potions is definitely going to help. Mortal Power. Increase the duration of disease and weaken to 15 seconds on targets below 30% health. And aerial transmission creates a 3-meter radius disease cloud on impact that lingers in place for 6 seconds. Okay, now understand that Berserker is a different story. I'll explain it in a second. It's nothing like throwing. But as I said, throwing is good for that midpoint. It's good for the distance players. This is good for your healer. You drop this on the target and you back off if you don't have a mage who's going to pull everything off you. If you're a mage and you're looking to help a healer, this is a good one for you to use. Now, a lot of people don't get this. The points in a game are generally very easily made to understand. A tank is your lead on assault. A lot of people forget this. They like to jump ahead as a DPS who has a lot of health. A DPS with a lot of health can hold the front. That is true, but the chance of them dying is far higher than a tank. The mid-range DPS is not meant to be in the front. Mid-range DPS means you're meant to be slightly ranged. You aren't meant to be right in their face. You can use bow and arrow, musket. You can use the axe. You can use magic items even as a mid-range, although it's very ill-advised for you to use magic items. The reason is the magic items has no block, and a block can be very useful for you. So if you are going to use a magic item, it can become really dangerous. Obviously, the only one that does have a block that I know, the two are the healing staff and the fire staff, and if you're going to use them, it's a whole different ball game compared to the other two magic items. Okay, so let's get on to the powered perk. Persistent hindrance. Hitting a target with a thrown hatchet extends the duration of all hatchet debuffs on that target by 30%. Now, you may think that this isn't such a big thing, but if you can keep slowed and disease extended along with the rending on them extended, you can keep stacking them on top. As you can see, 13 seconds, 13 seconds, and 7 seconds. If you can keep applying these in a quick rotation and apply heavy damage to the target in that time, it can help you take down bosses really quickly. Now, obviously, what I'm talking about is hypothetical, and it's not really that easy in most situations. Thrown hatchets are now capable of triggering headshots on random critical hits. Also increases critical hit chance for all attacks by 5%. On fire, every third thrown hatchet is a guaranteed critical hit. Rejuvenating critical hits. Critical hits with light attacks and aim throws regenerate 10% stamina. Now that means that you can throw for a little longer. Obviously 10% stamina plus 10% stamina of a 15% reduction. You're only eating 5% to the throw. And you regen about 2 stamina in that time. So you're only really losing 3 stamina per hit. All attacks deal 15% additional damage to targets with an active debuff. Adrenaline rush. Dodging within 2 seconds of triggering an ability consumes 25% less stamina. Refreshing throws. Thrown hatchets that hit targets with an active debuff reduce all hatchet ability cooldowns by 5%. Boost and rally. Light attacks and aim throws restore 10% stamina when hit targets with an active debuff. Okay, so overall throwing was a very good tree to actually look at. I'm just going to jump out and jump back in a second. Throwing is a very good tree for you to actually look at because it has its effect in that range. Now I'm going to go over Berserker. Berserker is another ball game all to itself. Berserker is a close range melee damage. It can pair up well with a spear, with a axe, with a with a spear, with an axe, the great axe I'm talking about, and with the hammer. It can pair up in that close range because it really works on the side. Now let's go through the Berserker tree and start off with the first perk. Entering a Berserk mode that increases all attack damage by 20% for 12 seconds, Cooldown for the ability will not start until the mode ends. Taunt gem compatible. If you have a Carnelian gem equipped in your Hatchet, this ability inflicts taunt for 8 seconds to all enemies within 8 meters. Taunt causes monsters to focus only on you. Now, although this can cause taunt, do not use it for this purpose. I tried to use it when I was using it to try and hold aggro, but the aggro becomes so heavy that I don't have time to switch back to my shield. And without my shield, I can't really handle that much. My defense is a lot lower. It's a good way to pull a boss to you again after a few seconds, but it really doesn't help you enough to actually count for that particular purpose. While Berserk is active, your movement speed is increased by 20%. While Berserk is active, gain a portion of your health back every 4 seconds up to 30% of your maximum health. Remove all stuns, slowed, and roots from yourself when you activate Berserk. Uninterruptible Berserk. While Berserk is active, your attacks are uninterrupted and you cannot be staggered. Now, this is a good thing for you to use against bears, right? That is the one place where the skill will work incredibly. I've done it myself. As I said, I did try out this tree for a little bit, but I instantly swapped back to throwing because it was much better. The non-breaking is basically a grit for you. You could use it in PvP. I suspect it will be highly effective for PvP. Okay, Feral Rush. Leap forward and strike twice. The first hit deals 115 weapon damage and the second deals 130% weapon damage. Now, obviously, a double attack doing 245% damage sounds like a big deal, especially with Berserk being one of your applicable forces. If you do pair the two up together, you can do a lot of damage. Next thing, Dispatch. If target is below 30% health, Feral deals 20% more damage. Crippling Strike. If Feral Rush hits a target in the back, it inflicts Root, immobilizing the target for 2 seconds. Now, as you can see, these two really help each other. Remember, you remove all your debuffs with this here. It is highly effective against irritating bosses. Bosses who do real irritating stuff can be fought off with this. Although it can be used for a tank to pull aggro. If you're going to pair it up with Feral Rush, as you can see, it will be okay for you, especially with the head-on assault. And after that, you have to try and make a way to get that shield back up. If your enemy does not stagger, you're going to be in big trouble. Raging Torrent. Perform 4 fast attacks, each dealing 90% weapon damage. Now, 90% times 4 is 360 weapon damage. 360 weapon damage. If you stack 1-2 on top of Berserk, that really is going to make a big effect, especially considering that there is that increase of 20%. Now, I do know that I haven't yet finished off this tree. Let's go through the special effect. When you receive lethal damage, avoid death. You are reduced to 50% health and gain immortality for 3 seconds. Cooldown every 75 seconds. Now, this is the only part of it which makes it slightly tanky. As you can see, it's an extremely risky one to go through. If you use this here for your last ditch effort, remember you only get 3 seconds of invulnerability. If you're going to go for this here as being your ace up your sleeve, that invulnerability with 3 seconds of healing could really pull you through in a tight situation, especially with healers being around, or you popping a regen potion, or having a second tank around as well. If you employ this strategy, it's good to use against high level enemies in elite zones like Thorpe in Mycard. It's going to be one of the best ways that you can apply to actually survive a little longer against him. But remember, those attacks are really heavy if you're going to use this to taunt. Now, as I'm saying, this isn't advised for tanks in particular. If you use this to taunt, the enemy will be pulled towards you, but it is highly ineffective because it's not applying for a team. It's applying effects for you yourself. You have to be able to fight when you apply these effects. If you're applying things that are only good for you as a single player, that means that you aren't helping the team. Taunt is a team-wide effect, and it does take up weapon damage that can be increased on this weapon. All of this is up to you as the player. Okay, let's go through the sides. Light and heavy attacks deal 20% more damage to targets below 30%. Against all odds, increase base damage by 10% for every enemy within 5 meters. Frenzied Purge, remove all bleed, burn, and poison effects from yourself if you hit an enemy while your health is below 30%. Accumulated power. After 3 successful light attacks against the same target, Gain Empowered grants a 30% damage increase for 3 seconds. Relentless Fury. After a successful heavy attack, gain Empower, granting a 30% damage increase for the next 4 attacks within 3 seconds. Desperate Rush. All cooldowns are reduced by 2% when hitting an enemy with an attack while your health is below 30%. Fortifying Strikes. Hitting the same target with 3 consecutive light attacks grants Fortify, increasing damage absorption by 15% for 3 seconds. Although these are very tanky abilities, right? I'm just going to say this here for the basics. Although those are very tanky abilities, if you try to use them to your advantage, you're more than likely going to fail. Now, I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news for those who are going to be like, no, we're not going to fail, we can do it, and you know, it's a very good tanking ability. It's not really the best at tanking. Being a tank means you want to have that high duration for taking damage. You don't want to risk having excess damage dealt to you no matter what. The cost of a few damage numbers to you isn't as small as you think. It's actually quite a big hit to you as a player. And if you don't stop taking excess damage too quickly, it can end up becoming a massive problem. So yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wouldn't advise it for a tank. If you are going to use it as a close range melee, yeah, you know what, it's good enough. You get 3 seconds of heal, plus you can back away in that time, falling behind the tank, ensuring that the tank is holding all the aggro. You can assist the tank for several seconds by pulling taunt if you want to go that way. When their shield breaks, you just taunt for a few seconds, giving them a few seconds to regain their stamina. It is a good way to regain stamina, but you know, as I said, it's a good way to regain stamina, but it's not the best way to be playing it in the game. You can end up in a real big amount of trouble if you mistime it, or if you play it at the wrong particular moments. Now, altogether, everything that I've explained about the Hatchet makes it one of the best weapons for you to use for a damage class individual. Or for off-tank builds, it is a good damage class weapon for you to use in your off-tank build. Now, an off-tank is in no way a tank. An off-tank is somebody who will directly use the tank abilities to last a little bit longer, but they're generally using assault class abilities on their tanking capability instead of using defensive abilities on the tank. I hope that you all did enjoy this video, and I will catch you all in the next one. Have a good day.